Okay guys, so the last exercise that we had completed this week with some groups was how to insert a table into Microsoft Word. And we can use tables for a variety of things like our food diaries or activity planners or staff rosters and things like that. And it's quite an easy exercise to do, but as part of this exercise, one of the things that we wanted to do was change the orientation of the page. So instead of it being straight up portrait, we wanted to essentially turn the page on its side to make it wider, and that's what's referred to as landscape mode. And in order to do that, when I'm in my Word document here, if I go to layout and I click on that, I'll see my orientation here on the left hand side. From the drop down in that, I can then click landscape and you'll see now that my page has changed. Okay, so this is one of the earlier files I've been using on with letterheads. I see now I've got this as a double on it. I'm just going to open it up and get rid of him because I don't need him for this. And I'm going to left click again. So it's perfect. So I now have my page in landscape mode. And what I want to do is I want to insert a table. All right, so in order to insert a table, I go to insert and I'm going to pick a table. And when I come on to this option, if I, without pressing anything, just begin to scroll over the squares in this, it'll give me an idea of what my table will look like. Okay, and I can adjust that accordingly. But if I have a good idea what my table is going to look like and it maybe doesn't fit within this, I can click on the insert and it'll ask me for the number of columns that I want and the number of rows. So just for point of interest, columns is from essentially left to right, how many columns you're going to have, and then rows is the amount down. So do you need 6 rows, 7 rows down, so the depth of it. So you'll see in this case here, just to make it stand out a little bit easier, I'm going to do the number of rows to be 3 and then the number of columns to be 5. So I click OK, and it's now inserted this table. Now, this is quite narrow. I'm going to want this to be a little bit larger, but it's also a little bit high on the page. So I might choose to left click here. So where we see this, again, kind of compass, if I left click on that, I can begin to drag my table wherever I want on the page. So I'm going to drag him to here. And I'm also going to make him bigger. And a bit like in an earlier video where we'd made an image smaller, to make this image bigger, if I go over to the right hand side and I kind of grab on it with this arrow again, I left click and hold and I pull it down, I begin to make my table to the size that I want. Okay, so that's a basic insert of a table, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to change it, and I've purposely made the table not kind of suitable to my needs, but I'm going to call this table our weekly activity planner. So like in an earlier exercise, I'm going to highlight that. So left click and drag to highlight it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to put it in bold, underline it, and I'm going to center it. Okay. In here, I want to put my days of the week. And down here, I'm going to put my activities. So if I start here with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, I can see I don't have space for Friday. And in order for me to add an additional column to the right, the easiest way is to go to the last column. So in this case here, I'm going to Thursday. And if I right click on that, you'll see the option here to insert. And then it'll say, do you want to insert columns to the left or columns to the right? And I'm going to click columns to the right. And it's now opened up an extra set of columns for me. So now I can type in my Friday. And in here, I'm just going to put in 3 different activities to do. So in this case here, my activities are going to be reading time, or story time might be a better one. STORY time. Down here, I'm going to have playtime. And I want one more column. one more row to come in here. So again, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to go to insert a row below, and I left click on that. So it's gone a little bit to the next page. I can try to reshape it anyway. I can then turn around, and for the last thing I wanted to put in was active time. So now my table has gone over 2 pages, which I don't want. And in order for me to fix that, I'm just going to resize it again. So again, go down to the bottom right, left click and hold, and I'm going to begin to drag it up until it's a bit more appropriate to the size that I need. Okay. So now I have my weekly planner back on 1 page. So what I want to do is I want to begin populating it with information, and then I'll tidy up the formatting of it a little bit later on. So in this case, for my activity planner, I know that I'm going to have 3 different groups. I'm going to have a red group, which are going to be room 1. So room 1 equals red. I don't want to have this highlighted and underscore. It's doing this because it's the last time I'd use it was for the weekly planner. So I'm going to unclick bold and unclick the underline. I'm also going to just at this stage now hit enter just to give me a little bit more space. Sorry, I won't hit enter. What I'll do is I'm going to drag this table down just a little bit further if I can. Okay, that's perfect. So I know that room 1 is going to be red. I want to create a room 2 and a room 3. So rather than hitting space bar the whole time, I'm going to hit the tab button, which is the button above cap locks. And I'm going to call room 2, and I'm going to put them in green. I'm going to hit tab again, maybe twice more. I should do 1 more tab in here. I just want these evenly spread out. I'm going to call this room 3. And that's going to be in blue. Okay, so these should be perfectly highlighted here. I'm just tidying up so I've got the same on all of them. Make sure they're just centered for me. And they are. And center again. Perfect. They look a little bit off there for whatever reason it is. Okay, that might be a little bit better. So I'm going to highlight these and I'm going to color coordinate them. Room 2 is going to be green. So again, whether I go here to the other ribbon, it's going to be in green. And then the final one is blue. That's going to be blue. Okay. So I'll know now roughly when I insert each activity what it's going to be. I won't do it for all the rooms, but it'll give you an idea. So I might know in this given week, I'll just put in 3 stories. I'm going to put in the Gruffalo. I'm going to put in Goldilocks. And I'm going to put in the 3 Little Pigs. And I know that these stories are going to be rotated across the first 3 days. Obviously, if I had 5 stories, I do it across the first 5 days. And I know that on day 1 or on Monday, I want the blue room. Sorry, I want room 1 to read the Gruffalo on Monday. On Tuesday, they can then read Goldilocks. And on Wednesday, they can then read the 3 Little Pigs. So I've highlighted them. On a Monday, the green room can read Goldilocks. Then they can read 3 Little Pigs. Then they can read the Gruffalo. Okay, and then finally, the blue room on the first day, they can read the 3 Little Pigs, followed by the Gruffalo, followed by Goldilocks. So you can see now how we can sequence this and color coordinate it. So if I'm the supervisor in one of these rooms, throughout the week, I'll just follow my color for room red. And again, I've had them as room red. You could have it as honeybees or ladybirds, whatever it is, and you allocate that room a particular color, and throughout the graph they could do it. So again, we can do a similar exercise for playtime. It could be Lego on Monday. We might also have that soft stuff. Is it Play-Doh? I think it's called. And then the other one we might have as being water play. Okay, and again, we will give each each one of these. So I'm just going to copy and paste these into each of them, and again give my color coordinations to each room again. So again, I'm just doing it this sequence here. You can do whatever sequence way you want it. Okay, and that would then go into my blue, and my blue. And finally the Play-Doh would go into the green, green, green. So this can be a really handy tool to have for laying out what each room is going to do. And I can format this table just like I can the rest of my document. So if I want to highlight everything and I want to increase the font size, I can go up here and I can do it incrementally, bit by bit. Obviously, in this case here, I've gone too far, so I'm going to bring it back down a little bit. All right, and so I can fit it in. But I might decide there that I don't need all this blank space underneath this. So if I go to one of the lines in my table, you can see here how it switches and it begins to grab. If I left click and hold when it's like that, I can pull up this line accordingly. And I can slot that into there. Another thing that somebody had asked to do was to center stuff in the middle of the documents. So I can do it this way, which is by going up and centering it there. But that only has it in the center. It doesn't have it right here. So in order to put it into the middle of the box as opposed to the center of the box, there's a slight different method we need to use. We would highlight any one of the boxes that we need to use, or in this case, I'm going to do it for all of them. We then would right click, and when we right click, we go down to table properties. We click on that, and in cell up here at the top, we then click center. We press OK, and we can now see how this is moved into the middle. And because I've done it for all of them, it should stay there. So again, we just populate this as much as we want. I'm going to play around. I'm going to put these now a little bit bigger. I'm going to put them in bold, and I might change the writing to something a little bit more fun, which might be Comic Sans. Okay, and I can have it there. I'm going to do the same on this side here for story time. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to put it in bold. I'm also going to put that into Comic Sans. So I'm just playing around the formatting here to make it look a little bit nicer. I might have a bit of room to increase my table size, so I'll make it a little bit bigger there. And then I might just decide to put a background color on these guys here. I don't want to overdo it, but if we highlight these cells and we go up here into paragraph, this here is the cell color, the shading in it. So I might choose a very light shade of yellow, and I might click on that, and I might do the same over here. Choose my light shade of yellow and click on that. And that's how we could create a weekly planner that would be color coordinated for the people. And again, the color coordination is just, it's your choice. And again, it's nice that we have it maybe on our letterheaded paper if we wanted to use that. Thank you very much.